All right. Let me make sure that with the microphone and everything. I don't know if anybody's actually here. Well, it looks like one person's here. Hello, test, test. See, is it working? I'm gonna have to check real quick. Do a self test here. See what's going on. 'Cause I'm not hearing anything. Hello, test, test. If anybody's there, can you give me a sign that the audio is working? I'm not sure if it is. Let me see. Okay. I'm gonna have to check using my own phone. Let's see. Oh, okay. It's good. It's good. Cool. I'm not hearing. These headphones are just for show. All right. You just heard my echo from my phone. So I got one person to show up. I've been the last the last hour has been before these live streams because I know I've learned. I've done a couple of these now, and I know that the clutch time is like right before. You can send an email a week before. It don't matter. People are gonna forget. They're gonna get drowned in emails and in texts and social media, whatever. So, oh, I got two people here. Nice. Yeah, I know the deal by now. I'm not a live stream veteran by any means, but I know that if you don't remind people like right before it's about to go down, nobody's gonna show up. Not even my mom won't even show up. My brother won't even show up. People that are like pretty much guaranteed to show up every live stream. Well, my mom's not guaranteed to show up. She usually can't get it working, but um, yeah, you gotta go in the 11th hour and then okay, blast it out. So email lists, Twitter, any place where I have I and I have to apologize if anybody's here from Discord. I should know. I'm sorry. I'm and publicly apologize to anybody that's on the Odin Project Discord. I know I'm laughing, but I'm sincerely apologize. I know that most online communities, especially on Discord, they don't like self promotion. They don't like, and I made the mistake of blasting it out in there. And I thought like I do want to like thank the people who maintain the Odin Project because I'll talk about that more of that later. I do want to sincerely thank them. No joke, but I get it. There's rules to the way this game is played, and it's kind of hard because communities like that. And I've noticed a lot of Facebook groups. Self promotion is pretty much a no no, but it's like, how else are you supposed to get on? Like with these are the people that you're involved in the community. Of course, you're not just joined to self promote. And I'm not doing that. I am doing the Odin Project. I've been doing it for about a month and a half now, every day. But it's like you can't talk about what you're actually doing. It's weird, y'all. It's a wrinkle of our times that I know I'm dating myself a little bit. That's why I feel like, um, yeah, I know the rules. I just was not thinking about it. I was just like trying to. I do want to sincerely thank people. So I'm not just trying to spam, but yeah. Anyway, if anybody's seeing this after the fact, or if you're here now, I apologize. I'm sorry. Um, but usually the way I like to run these is no more than an hour. Um, I got stuff to do. Y'all got stuff to do. Everybody got stuff to do. Everybody busy. So yeah, it as advertised. I'm going to stick to my script. You don't have the script, but I have the script. I have it right here. I like to do it old school, pen and paper, because I can adjust. I can take notes. If people have questions about what I'm doing or who I am, um, and yeah, we'll go from there. So, who's here? Out of all the people I blasted, who, if you want to identify yourself, you can. If you're a random person and you don't know me, hi, uh, hello, welcome to my live stream for the end of the year. And you can see I made a little. It's all. I see it's backwards too. Like, oh man. Oh, JC, what's up, man? What's up? Glad you could make it. I see my 2022 is backwards. You like that, man? See, that tells you that crafts were never really my thing. Like going all the way back to kindergarten, man, when they tell us, "Hey, cut this out, stay in the lines," I'm all over the place with the scissors. Um, and I had like, I'm not a very crafty person, y'all. I don't do that stuff very often. So I had to make do. Well, so JC's here. Anybody else? I'm happy that it's just two people. Maybe more people will show up. Um, I don't know. It's always like this every time. Usually start out with zero. So hey, on the come up, right? Growth is growth. Could be a tad brighter. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I only had like those thin markers. Um, yeah, sorry. I did what I could. You can just ignore it. I'm not gonna take it down. I'm not gonna fool with it. I'm just gonna get started soon. How was Christmas, man? You have a good Hawaiian Christmas. Weather's always the same over there. So even on Christmas, it's like 80 degrees, partly cloudy, maybe some rain on the windward side. Yeah. Did you go surfing on Christmas Day? You could do that sort of thing over in Hawaii. Oh, another person showed up. Nice. We got three people. Great weather. Yeah. The weather's been, I'm on an island too, but a few days after. Oh, okay. Subtropical is way different than tropical, man. Because over here we have been lashed by winds, and it's been kind of cold. It's probably been in the low high 50s, low 60s, which is cold for Okinawa. Um, but it's just been really windy too. Like so, the wind, of course, makes it a little bit colder. Um, so yeah, our Christmas weather was pretty nasty, cold, and then it's been warming up a little bit, but the wind just it just picks up out of nowhere, and I start hearing this howling, like, "Ooh," like, what is happening out there? Like, so yesterday I had actually, JC, yesterday I had like a boogie board from when I was in Hawaii, and it was just randomly starting to blow away last night, so I had to, like, go and secure it outside because I heard this, like, flapping sound, and we have this fake grass out here, and it just flaps up whenever the wind gusts. It's funny. So we have to go out and like smooth it out. And my wife even brought a brush for it to brush it. Uh, sometimes, sometimes I brush. Well, she brushes it most of the time. But okay, so I don't know who's here. It's about 10. minutes in, all my gyrations and flailing to get people to come. We'll see if it pays off. Maybe it will after a while. So, as usual, let me introduce myself. My name is Keith Hayden. Um, I'm an author, podcaster. uh, I do a lot of things. And today my goal is to touch on a lot of those things, um, to talk about what I did this year in 2021, 2021. Um, crazy, crazy year. Um, I'm not talking like from the big perspective. Of course, there's COVID, and of course, there's the standard political wrangling and all that stuff. I'm talking about for me personally in my life. So that's the context here. Um, but yeah, it's been a crazy year. Got a lot done. Um, did a lot of things. Accomplished a lot of things that I always wanted to do. But I'm going to talk a little bit about, and you'll see how I shift when I start talking about my 2022 goals, because 2021 was a good year, but I also made a good amount of mistakes as far as how I spend my time, where I spend my time on personal projects and all that stuff. So I want to talk about that because there's a lot to talk about. So first of all, I got to start it out. If you want to subscribe to my email list, if you like what you see here, if you like what I'm about, maybe you go back and see some of my back catalog, some of these previous live streams that I've done, you can go to keithhayden.net. I'm actually going to put the link in the chat. Yeah, you can go there, and at the bottom of the page, there's a place to sign up. And that's also, of course, it's my website, personal website, so you can see pretty much everything I'm working on there. But yeah, that's a good place to start. So, the flow of this live stream in the next 50 minutes or so, or 45 minutes, my goal is to talk about what I did, talk about what I learned from what I did, and then talk about what I'm planning to do in 2022. So, I actually don't want to spend as much time on what I did because it's a lot of stuff. It's a long list of things, but I'll talk about how I'm kind of thinking about what I did. So let's start out with 2021 accomplishments. What I did. First of all, published my first book, obviously, Serious and Limnic. That was January this year. Very, very proud. My first novel. It's a novel about two organizations, Sirius and Limnic, that are in conflict with each other, and they're fighting over the future of humanity to protect people and planet. So it's very much um, my ethos, like how I think about life, and I spliced in some cool stuff from anime, Chinese dramas, American war films, that type of thing, to really create some interesting characters and a cool story that's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, if you want to check it out, once again, go to my website, keithhayden.net. You can find there's a whole page of stuff, how to find it. Yes, it's on Amazon. Yes, it's digital. Yes, it's paperback, if you want to get it from Amazon. So obviously, that's the big one. That's one of the top three from this year. Um, Next big accomplishment was actually a smaller one, but one that I've been trying to pivot on for several years, and I always fall in and out of it. But then this year, I actually really strongly committed to reading more books. If you follow any of my podcasts, Tower Babbling, Two Brothers Talking, whatever, um, you know that I love reading, but I'll fall in and out of it to where I'll get on a streak and then I'll stop. And so this year was my goal was to like start. I didn't have a specific page count or number of book count. I just wanted to read like more often. I wanted that to be my primary, like, I don't know, leisure activity. And it was. I read over 20 books in 2021. So I'm very proud of that. You can see Obama's book right here, A Promised Land. That was probably my favorite book that I read this year. It's just really, he's really a good writer. He's really a great storyteller. The way he kind of pivots between the political and the personal, um, the professional to kind of the private. I mean, those are all P words, but it's true. I mean, ask anybody who's read the book. It's an outstanding book. Really, it's good. So yeah, very proud of that accomplishment this year. Another accomplishment was starting to learn web development. And I mentioned the Odin project at the beginning of this live stream. If you're just tuning in now, um, yeah, this was something that is fairly recent. I just started it last month in November, and I'm doing the hashtag 100 days of code. And I think I'm on day 40 now. I'm doing it for 40 days. Not continuously because I had a vacation, had a pretty big vacation just recently, and that obviously I couldn't do it every day while I was on vacation. But any day, pretty much that I wasn't like that I had internet connection, I've been doing the web development, and that's something that JC, you're on here, so like where we went to school at the Air Force Academy. They pretty much shred you out at the beginning, right? Techie, non-techie majors, and I was always a non-techie guy. And now I've been learning about that stuff through Web3 stuff, NFTs, DeFi, super interested in that stuff. And one day would like to actually be able to build and create with those tools using blockchain, using building dApps, things like that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if it sounds like I'm like something, then uh, maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it later. But yeah, so very proud of that. Those are my top three for this year: published a book, read 20 books, and then the web development, because it's for me, it's such a huge shift. Obviously, from writing, I met a guy when I was on our cruise to down in Antarctica just this month, and it was funny because he was like, "Man, you seem like a very creative type of person," and all this stuff. Because I was telling him I'm an author and all this stuff, but there's also a very technical side to me that I was a math teacher, and I was a high school math teacher before, so those things don't really come up. So it's hard to reconcile, and I'll talk more about that when I get to my lessons learned. So the other achievements, I'm just going to list them off. If you want to see like more of actually what I did, KeithHayden.net. That's where you go. Other achievements: started learning music production. This was probably my number four thing. Um, Music was kind of, I always like listening to music, but never like composing and creating. And when I say music production, it's kind of a broad field because it can mean a lot of different things. It could mean just mixing and mastering. It could mean it could mean a lot of different things. A lot of people, when they hear it, think of different things. But I'm actually like composing my own stuff too. So I did that. So you can find all the music, KeithHayden.net. Started two new podcasts this year. Serious and Limnic, that is the audiobook version or audio drama version. Hey, Dennis, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Glad you made it. Um, Welcome. Um, Serious and Limnic, that's the audio drama, audiobook version of my novel, which is unique because it's just me doing all of the voices and telling the story. And my wife occasionally helps out. So it's a totally self-produced production. But um, yeah, so I started that. Two Brothers Talking. I'm very, very proud of that. I don't know if my brother's in yet. Ajani, appreciate you, man. We teamed up on this podcast, and it is fire, y'all. Like, we talk about so many different things, really important conversations, some of them not so important conversations, but we run the gamut. And I just like kind of the free format, and these are genuine conversations between my brother and I. That's how we catch up. Like, I haven't really spoken to my brother in like the last month. I mean, I did see him on like a family live stream thing, but I haven't like personally talked to him in like a month. And that's how we roll. Like, no texts, no social media. He doesn't do that. It's just these calls. that, that's how it was. And so we decided to make a podcast about it. And we're both enjoying doing it. And it's just, I don't know, it's a cool podcast. Check it out. Two Brothers Talking. KeithHayden.net. You know where to go by now. Published over 40 podcast episodes between all of my podcasts. Yeah, insane. Been a podcasting maniac this year. Um, so that's an accomplishment. Began writing a military biography, and Dennis just showed up. This is a huge accomplishment for me and a very big and important project that I'll get into when I talk about the goals. I'll talk about that more. But um, I just feel honored and humbled. And I know it's totally pro bono. It's totally like volunteer basis, but I've really enjoyed it as a writer, as a former investigator. It's just totally in my wheelhouse, and working with Dennis and the Price of Freedom has been awesome. So, and the family as well that I'm working with to do the thing, to do the biography, really just important work. Um, Began creating my first course. So this is going to get into no problem, Dennis, man. Um, really, yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. That's what I see it as, sincerely. Um, my first course, I started creating it this year. My first like online course. I'm creating it. I'll talk more about that later. I invited people that are here on my Japanese learn Japanese list. Very passionate. That's just kind of a passion project of mine that I'm actually pivoting to business side to actually do that, but be able to serve people here in Okinawa, Japan that want to learn Japanese. So um, that's a big one. Became a verbal ambassador. And if you don't know what verbal is, I mentioned it. One of my probably my most popular clip on verbal right now is me talking about verbal and how it's so great. Um, and I still think it's very great. I just haven't, like I said, I've been on vacation, so I haven't put out many clips or done much with it in the last couple of weeks. But that's going to be a huge part of my goal setting for next year. So we'll see that with verbal. And travel, did a lot of traveling this year because it was a move year for us with military. So typically that's a good time to travel because you're in between assignments. So did a pretty epic road trip from where we were in Northern California. We went to Colorado Springs to visit my good friend Ryan out there. That was cool. Then drove down to, where did we go? Through Utah, went through Nevada, went to Vegas, then ended up in LA. Hey, cool, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you found us. The Scuttlebutt Show. I think I've seen you on which group are you in Facebook? I'm in a lot of different groups. So I'm in and out. I'm not sure if it's the audio drama book or audio drama or I know I've seen your show before though. Let me know. Let me know. So travel took an awesome. We did the road trip, flew up to Alaska, and my wife wanted to do a bunch of glacier stuff, so we did that. Man, pendants. Oh, okay, my bad, my bad. That's right. Okay, I have seen clips of your show. That's right. Okay, welcome, welcome, man. Appreciate you joining. Um, but flew up to Alaska. That was cool. Visited one of her friends up there, and then went to Fairbanks area. Drove down past Denali, like went to the entrance of Denali because Denali's freaking huge, and there's freaking bears in the summer. No, thank you. Did see a black bear run across the road in Alaska. That was cool. Um, yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, appreciate you checking it out, man. For sure. Yeah, we should definitely. I think we could help each other out, especially here in Okinawa. Um, I'll see you later. So yeah, flew over to Japan and then of course went through all the moving stuff. And then if you've seen my recent two videos of Antarctica, I did mention it once or twice in this stream, but we went to Antarctica. This trip was planned before COVID, pre-COVID, actually 2 years. It was planned like in 2019. So it was one of those trips that it's like, hey, when it comes up, you got to go. So you can check out those videos. I've put up two of the videos talking about the whole trip. It's on this YouTube channel, but wait till you finish this live stream before you go check it out, huh? Okay, so now I think I got through all of my accomplishments or things that like are most noteworthy that I did. And let me say something real quick about all those things that I just named off. Because it was a move year, and of course we're moving overseas from California. There was a lot of months where I just couldn't work on stuff because you got to get ready to move, then you got to actually move, then you got to settle in where you move, and then of course talked about all this trips that we did. So not doing very much on those trips except actually relaxing and being on vacation, doing that stuff, and then Antarctica, of course. So there were probably like 3 or 4 months where it wasn't just me sitting in my space to where I can just work on stuff. So that makes all of the stuff that I did even that much more. I don't know, just kind of cool. Like I still maintained what I was working on, but even with all of those things that I did, I learned a lot about how I work and about how um, I don't know how I want to change things up in the future because I've seen a lot more conversations on, especially with the pandemic and everything. Like burnout is real, y'all, um, and people overcommitting. I know I'm one of those people that tends to overcommit, especially in this growth phase that I'm in. Right, like I haven't really reached steady state with any of this stuff. Like I've made a lot of good strides with things, but especially this year, planted a lot of good seeds. But the stuff isn't to a point to where it's like fire and forget. It still requires a lot of maintenance, a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of coordination, stuff like this live stream. It seems simple, but like I said, the whole hour before I was scrambling, sending out stuff, like trying to make sure, people know about it and still trying to put stuff out there, still trying to engage on social media, but then still trying to actually do the stuff. And can I get an amen for anybody who's in this um, rat race, Yeah, Dennis, man. Like, I think as someone who's not, it's not just I'm just going to work and doing stuff, and I'm not knocking that. Definitely, it's necessary, but yeah, it's easy to see all these opportunities and be like, "Psh, I got to go do it now because and it feels like that. It feels like it's easy to get left behind if you just stop, if you just bury your head in the sand, hit the grindstone, but then at the same time, you're not like growing your network. You're not getting those opportunities that you need to actually grow. You're just kind of working on yourself. So 2018, 2019, hell, going back to 2017, for me, it was all about that like internal growth, personal growth after I left the military, all that stuff. But really 2020 and this year was all about like starting to branch out. Like, and the book was kind of the catalyst for that. It was like, okay, now I actually want to try and sell the book. I wrote the book. Now I actually want to like try and tell people that I wrote the book. So that initiated this kind of expansion of, opportunities and people and networking and social media and really getting serious about that and pivoting from just being a hobbyist and all this stuff to being a business, to being somebody that, hey, and that's the thing. I'm still kind of defining what this looks like. But another thing that I didn't mention on here, I forgot to write down, is that I really defined what it is, like how I can bring all of these disparate things together, the music, the writing, the web development, all of the stuff that I do. How do you bring that together? Well, I brought it together in a mission statement that, or I should say a vision statement actually, because that's the bigger picture. A vision statement, which is to, and I'm going to try to do it off the top of my head, but if you want to see the full thing, like in its pure form, then you can look on my LinkedIn because it's on there. But essentially, the vision statement is to help develop change makers by connecting humanity and cultures through education, technology, and story. So I actually just came up with that, and after reading um, Scott's book, his book Veteran Wealth Secrets, and I was on his wife's podcast, and that was awesome. And that's how I met Dennis, through Jen. I don't know if Jen's on, but if you're not, even if you're watching this after, thank you so much for making that connection, because I mean this is kind of the way things work, and this is what I said. This expansion has been happening this year, but that leads me to my first lessons learned. I have 4 lessons that I learned. Of course, the hard way, because that's the only way really to learn is through experience. That's the best way to learn. Not always the most fun, though. Lack of focus leads to slow results. And my wife will tell you, like, what we used to call it in the military, right? Dennis, you can probably appreciate this. The good idea fairy, right? Good idea fairy be tapping me on the shoulder daily. good idea for this. This will save the world. All this stuff, and you just can't do it all. You just can't. And I try and commit to. I try to prioritize those things um, that I commit for other people, and those typically come first. At least I try to, and then my stuff typically comes second, at least in my daily kind of prioritization flow. But yeah, Dennis, for sure. It's super hard not to chase these things down, especially when you have the internet at your fingertips, right? It's not like the old days where you got to wait for somebody to pass by or wait till they're in town or whatever. No, you can just connect with anybody around the world whenever. I live over here in Japan and I'm doing this live stream, right? Here, case in point. So it's really hard to say no. It's really hard to just, here's an opportunity, here's this, here's that, and then just go and chase it. So lack of focus, right? That's something that I definitely want to improve. That's going to lead into my goals for 2022. Lesson number two: moving and traveling during a pandemic just sucks. Don't do it if you can avoid it. We couldn't avoid it. We had to move, but if you can avoid it, just don't do it, y'all. Like if you watch my video on Antarctica after this, like the first video, especially talking about going there, you will see it's about a 35-minute video, me talking about the flights and the trip from here to there. And oh boy, I want to say that's the longest continuous time I've ever traveled. 3 days straight. um, no breaks, like no like super long layovers to where you're like, okay, we can just rest or whatever. No, it was just nonstop flights and transfers and bus rides. And of course, we're in a pandemic, so every time it's you know either take a COVID test or show your COVID test. And don't do it, y'all. Don't do it to yourself, especially if you have kids. Stay home. Stay, just stay home. And they're young. Don't do it. I've known people here in Okinawa, they haven't left in like 2 or 3 years for this fact alone, because it goes, we're in Omicron now. Who knows? Bomnicron variant is coming next. I don't know, y'all. I don't know what's going on with these variants, but or with COVID, it just seems like it's just going in this wave. And I know people are sick of it. I'm sick of it. Trust me. I was so tired of COVID stuff, like hearing about it and like show this and take another test and oh, man. Okay, so just be careful. Obviously, there's times where you have to travel, and there's times where you can't avoid it. It's unavoidable, but think twice. If you just think twice, okay, while this thing is going on. Um, Lesson three: don't try to keep up with the culture. This is my, I already previously talked about like overcommitting and um, just trying to do too much, right? Going too hard with it. Uh, Keeping up with the culture is impossible, y'all, especially in nowadays, and especially since I've like started turning my eyes towards tech, and I mentioned NFTs. That's actually what got me um, doing the Odin project, because in early November I heard about NFTs, just like a lot of people this year in 2021. 2021 is, in the eyes of crypto world, is the year of the NFT, right? Yeah, Dennis, you're probably right. The pandemic, yeah, there's more years to come. And this is right, as people said in the beginning of COVID last year, like this is pandemic light, right? This isn't like worst case scenario. We all know that, but people still act crazy with it. Whatever. So yeah, it's really hard. And I'm not. I wish I could be more hopeful about if there's actual, like, the pandemic to where you get it and you just turn to dust and turn into a mummy or something. But there could be something that's way worse than COVID. Is my point. So I mean, I hope that that's not the case, but who knows how the world's going to act. If COVID was a dress rehearsal for that pandemic, it's not looking too good. Things might get rough. I don't know, but Back to my lesson. Yeah, keeping up with the culture. I learned about NFTs, and I'm still now learning about DeFi, decentralized finance, and all this stuff. NFTs, if you don't know, non fungible tokens, they're a way to they store digital value on the blockchain, and they're non-fungible, meaning they're each one is unique. So what this has created, it's very interesting from a economics perspective, because it's basically created this market of scarce digital goods, to where people are owning these things, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be pretty much anything. And when I say anything, people are connecting this to real world access and passes, but at its base layer, like the common use, at least where it started, was just JPEGs. Like you could say JPEG, you can't just download save as, because it's validated by a blockchain like Ethereum or well, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't really have much going on, but there's a lot of smaller blockchains too. Solana, um, Matic, Polygon. Those are the same things. But anyway, there's a rabbit hole to this, as they call it, and I kind of got sucked down, and I actually bought some crypto. I looked into it heavily, and I'm still learning about it. But point is, this culture moves so fast, like, and each token, each NFT drop, each I don't know. Everything requires like hours and hours of, oh, listen to this podcast, read this article, read their white paper, read their roadmap, all this stuff. Like each one is a project in itself, and it might turn out to be BS. Not to say it'll be fake or anything, but you don't know if it's like basically researching a business, right? These are the new stocks for this economy, for this digital economy. So for a while, I was trying to keep up with it, and I got tired real quick, y'all. And I feel like the rest of the world is like that too. Like a lot of other spaces, tech, it moves like, I want to say, like double or five times speed, but the rest of the world's like that too. You can't keep up with all the COVID news. You can't keep up with, I don't know. I can't do it. So that was one of my big lessons is, okay, don't try and do it. It's too hard. It takes too much time, and there's too much other stuff that I want to do than just reading about that stuff. Like I actually need to take action, and just reading and researching prevents me from taking action. So I don't want to spend as much time there in 2022. Um, the last lesson, and then I'll move on to my goals for 2022, is consolidating this was an accidental lesson, consolidating online personas, because as I've mentioned throughout this, if you haven't gotten it straight throughout this live stream, I do a lot of different things, y'all. I have a lot of different interests, and I'm fortunate that I have a decent amount of time to actually explore those and go at least a decent ways into them. A lot of people don't have that luxury, but um, for me, in actually trying to pivot my efforts in online business, or not online business, I don't have one yet, but to pivot my efforts and to be more streamlined online, separating my online personas into like silos, that was like the best that was like the best decision I made this year, hands down. I did it on Twitter. I have three different Twitter accounts, and one is for my language stuff, only language stuff. One is for my author stuff at KH underscore author. The first one is at KH underscore way too lang. And then I have my web dev stuff, and it's at KH underscore web dev. So just this small tweak has really, it's paid dividends, because I think we still have that, even though we live in this age to where you could, do what I'm doing, which I've seen a lot of people do. You could have a podcast about something, then you can have your business about something else, and then your day job is something completely different. You could have these three different, very visible personas, but bringing them together is really hard for people to like process, and worst of all, it's hard for the computer to process. Like the algorithms and social media, they just get super confused. I mean, they'll start feeding you stuff from all this other stuff, but they're, the algorithms constantly, just like people, people design the algorithms, so they act like people. Algorithms constantly trying to classify you. It's constantly trying to say, oh, he likes music, So I'm going to give him music videos on YouTube. On Twitter, he likes web development stuff. So I'm going to give him web development stuff. But if you do all of them in one channel, it doesn't know what the hell to do. It's just like, okay, I'm going to feed him everything, but it just doesn't work. So that's a pro tip that I've learned this year, and that I plan on implementing it more in like my LinkedIn and stuff like that. Cause my LinkedIn is crazy, y'all. Like it basically has every freaking thing that I've done like since high school. And I'm getting up in the years, y'all. It's a lot of different stuff. It all doesn't connect, and it's very much like doing a resume, like for a job. Like you wouldn't, if I was applying for a teaching job, I probably wouldn't put my web development stuff on there or my music stuff on there unless I was applying to like teach web development or music, like I would put my math certification in California. Like I taught math in high school, whatever. I would just put that stuff. It's very similar to that. Like tailoring your message is really important nowadays, especially the way social media, just the way it works. I mean, you have these really siloed communities, like I was talking about the Odin Project Discord. That's a very specific. Not only is it web dev, but it's only for going through that curriculum. Like if you're not going through the Odin Project, you got no business in that Discord. So you have these very niche and specific communities online. I'm on another one on Facebook. It's all about running. You know, And I thought about blasting them too to come to this, but I don't really have any running goals for this year. So I was like, that's probably doesn't work. Um, but yeah, we have these super niche communities online. A lot of it's online nowadays. And if you want to be a part of that community, you have to really fit. Like, are you trying to learn web development and using the Odin project? Okay, then you can join the Discord. If not, even if you're learning web development, if you're using one of the billion other ways to learn web development, you got no business in that Discord. So that's the way the world works, and that's a lesson that I learned this year. Like, especially for pivoting to like business, because then that's when people like you become known in that community. And as I mentioned, it's kind of tough because these communities you can't really advertise that you are trying to be a business or anything, but um, who knows? You never know what it's going to lead to, like being a part of the community, and that's the point of having a community. So you never know what is going to come out of it. So that's my lessons learned. 4 lessons learned for 2021. Now let's move on to 2022 goals. I got about 20 minutes left, and let's talk about the goals. The biggest goal that I have for 2022 that I wanted to make known for everyone who's connected with me, especially if I have a project with you or I'm working with you in a project or something like that, is as I mentioned, like I've realized, like well, let me preface it this way. One of the things I write about in my book, Serious and Limnic, or one of the lessons in the book, is that human beings, as human beings, we are all naturally expansionary. So, what do I mean by that? Like, more is typically better, right? More food, more romantic partner options in general, right? Like more money, more freedom. Obviously these things tend to conflict with each other. The more you have of one, you have to give up more of the other. But that is typically good in our minds. So when it comes to being uh, non-expansionary, like taking things down, dismantling things, we tend to be very poor at that. Like not doing things, like refusing things that we want to do. Like that is a hard skill. That is a hard something that even me, like in my ironclad discipline, military forged, military academy, even before I went to the military academy, I was like this. Um, I still struggle with that. Like as I mentioned, saying no to things. So that is my biggest goal in 2022 is to not only say yes to less things, but to clear my plate, or as I call it, get out of project debt of what I already have. Because I already have plenty, y'all. I already have a lot of, I have them here. I'll list them off, but I have projects like crazy that I need to finish. One of them, Dennis, is the biography. That's definitely high on the list. But I've realized that, like I said, my first lessons learned, lack of focus, right? It's just things just go a lot slower when you're trying to do 3 different projects a day. As you know, if you look at my last live stream from November, it's like you trying to do 3 different projects a day, man. Like, how you gonna make progress on any one of them? So that's what I'm trying to like do less of in 2022. Like, um, focus to finish faster and then get hopefully a better quality product, whatever I'm working on, and then move on and then just focus on that. So here is the order of projects, like starting next week after the new year, because this week is pretty much still holidays. Um, Groundwork Japanese. That is, if you are here for, you trickled in from my Japanese email list, then first of all, I thank you for finding me. But second of all, that's that's super important to me because it's so immediate. Like it's right here. Like I see the need and I see people wanting to learn Japanese. Anytime I mention that I speak Japanese, people are like, "Man, how'd you learn? I wish I could do that. Man, I wish I could do that." And I meet military people all the time who want to get better at Japanese, but there's no system to, they have all the internet go, but that's not the best way to learn. We know that. So I'm making a more of a tailored approach that's specifically tailored for military personnel and associated military affiliated, I call it. So that includes spouses and dependents, civilians, contractors, whatever. I'm making that program for people in Okinawa, then eventually all of Japan. So I'm in the process. So that is number one. Number two, Price of Freedom biography. Dennis, it's you, man. I got, I don't think I've told you this, but during November, I got 7,000 words into the biography. Like 7,000, like good words, not just, like blasting out words. No, I don't do that. Like good, it's solid and it's already looking really good. And like I said, very important for me to finish it, not just for you, but just it's kind of a very personal, um, I don't know. It's a very important project. So that is next after. And I'm not giving specific timelines because once again, focus. The goal is to focus and put out good products. And then once something reaches a natural stopping point, then I move on to the next thing. So the biography's next. Then Serious and Limnic Honor Trauma. I left it off because I wasn't really happy with the last episode that I put out back in October. So I put if you've listened to it since then, I put an episode basically saying, hey, this is on pause indefinitely until I figure something out how to get the quality up. And I've got a friend, maybe he'll watch this, Steven, who's willing to help me like get better at doing more of what making my vision come true on it. But everything's been recorded. It's just editing and sound design, all that stuff. And this stuff is very time consuming, y'all. It takes a lot of time. And once again, when I was trying to juggle everything, I was trying to do this like once a week, and it's like it wasn't going to happen. It was too much. So that's number three. And then along with that is the music production because I'm obviously using my own music tracks for this project. So oh, awesome. Oh, that would be great. Yeah, any little thing, Dennis, like that helps me go a lot faster because what I did was I uploaded most of the videos to YouTube on a private channel, and then it does the audio captions for me, and that helps because then I can go down and reference it. But it's still better to have anything that I don't know makes it faster because there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of content to go through. And then the last goal is tech an hour a day, and this is for the future. Um, and this is where, I'm sure nobody's here from the Odin Project because I'm sure they've already banned me or something for for self-promoting. Thou shalt not self-promote ever in Discord. I learned that lesson the hard way this morning. But and once again, I apologize. But um yeah, the Odin Project, man, if you are at all interested in learning web development, there's a lot of different ways you could go. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't do it early this year because I was looking into it. I was asking questions. I have friends that are software engineers and that have worked in this field. And I was asking about it and I was Googling and, Free Code Camp. There's so many ways that a lot of them actually free to learn web development. It doesn't take much. And JC, if you're still here, I know you learned you did a Python course last year. Like it's all over. It's so easy. The hard part is deciding where to enter, like really committing to a program or to a class or something. There's tons of cheap Udemy courses. There's just so many. But what I couldn't find is something that um like will make you like job ready and like focus the web development training to where it's like, okay, not only you're going to learn the basics, just the basics, none of these fancy frameworks or none of these fancy emerging technologies, Web3 stuff, all that stuff. No, just bread and butter. What do I need to get started? How do I do this from nothing? And I don't have a strong background in tech. Odin Project descends into the Odin Project. The You can check out, just Google the Odin Project and you'll find what it is. It's total online self-contained curriculum, and they tell you from start to finish like how to basically become job ready in a couple of months. And I've read their success stories of people on there on the Discord, and I don't know, fastest I've seen is like 6 months. I'm sure there's faster. I haven't read them all, but 6 months from knew nothing to working as a software engineer. Pretty amazing. And there's so many, if you're military and you're watching this, like if you're a spouse or anything like I am, there's so many um there's so many resources for you that I won't get into here because I only have like 10 minutes left. But there's so many out there and they're free and they're really good. If you're interested in tech, I just joined Operation Code this week, and it's a whole community, a Slack community of very much like Discord, except it's on Slack. Slack is like Discord, but I don't know what the difference is. They're both pretty much the same to me. But um, yeah, they're on Slack, and they have all this stuff, anything you would want to know about, from learning web development to getting your first job to like not getting screwed on compensation, to whatever, gee whiz stuff that you never wanted to know or thought you didn't want to know, but there it is. And then there's people that will help you, learn. So shout out to the Operation Code community for accepting me. I haven't done much. Like I said, I just joined this week, but I can tell it's going to be an awesome resource that I'm going to turn to as I get my skills up. There's Facebook communities. It's pretty easy. And then Twitter, like tech Twitter, just by posting hashtag 100 days of code and doing it every day, as I've been doing it for the last 39 days, you get so much outpouring. There's senior devs that want to help you. Bottom line, it's easy to break into tech. It's hard to have a vector, like how to get there. Odin Project is the way to go. Love it. So real quick, I've got about 10 minutes left. I'm doing this pretty fast, y'all. Uh, my different domain goals. So my Twitter domains. Language goals, Japanese. I really don't have any like specific goals for Japanese this year. It's just more of course, I'll maintain because I'm here in Japan, pretty easy to maintain. But I want to do more listening because I realize my listening is probably my weakest area in Japanese. So I want to do more of that. Um, Continue doing lessons with Ryoma. I invited Ryoma. I'm sure just like a lot of my other invitations, it was last minute. So maybe you're watching it after the fact. But yeah, Ryoma, want to continue doing lessons with you. I will sign up soon. It's just been the holidays, and yeah, but I will sign up again soon. I really enjoy our lessons. And then continue learning kanji so I can read more. Because when I unlocked reading for Spanish, it was game over because I could pull up anything in Spanish and read it. And now I no longer have to study, like study. I can just pull a Spanish book off or my shelf or get one online, and then I'm good. I can practice Spanish anytime. So say I'm not quite there with Japanese yet to where I can just pick up something and read. I just did finish this book behind me, Minna no Nihongo. I just read that while I was on vacation. It's more of a textbook, but it was just really good at like taking me through the basics. And I'm going to be starting on volume 2 pretty soon. So that's my Japanese goals. Writing goals, like I said, it's the Mill biography. Um, that's my biggest writing goal. Serious Olympic 2 has been, I basically planned it out one weekend like 2 months ago. So it's planned. But as I said, I'm not going to start it until at least the biography's done. So Serious Olympic 2, maybe later next year. Maybe. We'll see. where I'm at with all my other goals. But like I said, trying not to start new stuff in 2022. That is the goal. Throttle back. Podcasting. Um, there will be no new podcasts in 2022. I think 4 podcasts is enough. One of them I'm not maintaining really at all. Serious and Limited behind the book, but 3 podcasts is enough to maintain. Serious and Limited, as I said, it's one of the main projects that's going to get like a full on schedule to finish. Tower of Babel in Japan. I initially had like an aggressive schedule planned, like once a week to do a podcast, but I'm thinking with this whole spirit of doing less and like focusing, I think um, maybe it'll be bi-monthly. Um, Tower battling Japan. I think I can make that work, or once every 2 weeks or something like that. Just because I've gotten my workflow down to where I can do an episode and edit it and publish it. I can do it in like 3 hours. But I actually am going to be starting working. I actually did finalize my paperwork to be a substitute teacher here in Okinawa. So go me. Um, so there will be a little bit less time to like just be here at home starting next month, like mid next month. So yeah, got to be realistic about that. And I just don't want to overcommit, to that. Two brothers talking. It's kind of whenever my brother feels like. I feel like my brother, he goes into his cave, man. Like he can't be found for like I can't find him for weeks, months at a time. And like I said, no communication really. So um, whenever he feels like it, whenever I feel like it, we both kind of have a similar like, okay, we'll get to it when we get to it. If we don't get to it, then we don't get to it. But I definitely want to do more Two Brothers Talking because it's just fun. It's a fun podcast to do. But once again, it takes time. It takes a while. The episodes are typically at least an hour long, and that means an hour of editing and listening back through and all that stuff. Um, I'll use this time to talk about Verbal because Verbal is going to be probably my main vehicle, especially since I'm already an ambassador for it. It like makes sense for me to continue to make that my main channel for smaller just inputs like my tech thoughts, my travel thoughts. Like I like the way I've set it up very much in that siloed approach, right? To where I have my main channel, but then I have these playlists. And that's one thing I love about Verbal that I said in my last live stream. And I have these playlists so where, I can have one about tech. I can have one about writing. I can have one about reading. I have one about travel. And they all just kind of exist. And anytime I want to upload some thoughts or a short recording, these are typically no longer than 10 minutes. I don't even save the files. Well, I save the files, but I don't save them like how I produce them. Like I won't even go into Ableton and do it. I'll just do it in Audacity, like real quick. Just bam, record, microphone up. It's a quick process. I got it down quick. So yeah, Verbal is going to be a huge role in continuing to like have that avenue for me. And then hopefully I can hit the 1,000 listeners or whatever, and I can actually get paid to do it. So that's the goal, but not an explicit goal, but it's just going to happen as I put out more stuff. I know it. And then last um, domain goal is web development. Web development, as I said, an hour a day. That's that's my goal for it. Um, I really don't have a speed. Um, Odin Project, they constantly talk about how they'll post like time is an illusion. It's kind of just how fast can you absorb? Like, what are your goals? Like, and I'm fortunately in a position to where I don't need a job, especially a job in tech. Like I don't have to, but I know like I've just seen with NFTs and blockchain, DeFi, and all this stuff. Like this stuff is the future, y'all. Like we live our lives through computers. Knowing how to manipulate computers is if you know how to do it, then you're positioning yourself well in our current times because computers are not going away. They're just getting more and more complicated. They're getting more and more integrated into our lives. Everything's a sensor. Everything has some type of processing to it. And if you know how to manipulate that, you are definitely y- you're going to probably be okay, in our current times. It's kind of it's the skill of the 21st century, y'all. The computers are here to stay. Whether you love them or hate them, say what you will, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The internet, it is what it is. This is how we live. This is our life now, whether you like it or not. So this is me embracing that, and then of course with plans in the future to use the technology to make my own stuff. But I realize that I'm a ways off from that. I need to stick to the path and continue to do the Odin project, and then from there I'll get what I need. But that's going to be an hour a day. So I did it in an hour. Talking for an hour straight. Um, this has been my goals for 2022. 2021 reflection. If anybody has any questions, I'll do 5 more minutes because we already hit the hour. But if anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, I would, or anybody that's watching now, actually, I guess I'll end with it's as we talked about a couple of times during this live stream. It always feels like you have to do more. It always feels like you have to, the rat race, the hustle culture. It's real, and it's funny because I made a comment on my Twitter a couple of days ago. There was a guy on there. He had an article talking about mental health, and mental health. I hear about mental health all the time. I'm married to a freaking psychologist, so mental health is kind of always, it's at least some part not far away from my consciousness, right? So, but we live in that society to where we talk mental health and we talk how important it is, but then it's also like you got to do this stuff now, like all this stuff, you got to watch this thing now, you got to buy this thing now, you got to make this thing now, you got to, and then, don't even talk about money, right? Sure, yeah, of course, Dennis. Yeah, feel free to repost. No problem. Um, don't even talk about money, right? Because a lot of times it feels like money can't wait. You need the money now, A lot sometimes it can't wait. Like the bills are coming, like things times get thin, the bank account gets a little low, and next thing you know, it's all about money. So you're just doing whatever you can. And I know like the last few years I've really fought that to like get out of that mindset because I grew up in that mindset as well. My mom was constantly, I remember her late night, she just had like a piece of paper and I just look over her shoulder. It's all numbers. It's all like, I'd be like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm just budgeting. That was probably at least once a week in my house. And shout out to you, mom. You really did it for us. But I kind of grew up with that mentality of it. A lot of things, it's like, maybe there's never enough. Maybe there's not going to be enough. So this scarcity mindset that a lot of us, especially in the Black community, we grew up with that. Like there's not going to be enough. I got to go out and get more at whatever cost. I got to hustle. I got to kill it, whatever. And I'm struggling through that too. Like, it's not an easy thing to break yourself of, especially when you got the culture at large talking through your ear like this is the way, right? This is the only way to stay safe. It's the only way to provide for your family, for your kids, for your wife. Um, this is the only way, and it's like that. It is a way. It's not the best way though, and we know that, but it, the culture doesn't do a good job of letting that be okay. Even though we talk so much about mental health and things like that. So, what is your mental health looking like going into 2022? I think this is a good time to reassess that and think about that. Like, are you doing too much? Are there some things that you could take off of your plate to where, okay, is this really that important? Or, because a lot of the stuff, it's us making the importance. It's not Dennis breathing down my neck and saying I got to get the biography out. He's not doing that. That's me. It's me saying that because I've committed to do it. And so, I'm a man of my word and I try and keep up with everything and not overpromise and deliver on what I say I'm going to do. But he's not doing that to me. That's me doing that to me. And we all do that stuff every day, right? Nobody told told you you have to do something by X time, but because there's really no excuse, right? It feels like there's no excuse. Internet's always on, it's always there, so you could really always be working, especially those of you who are at home. Suppose of you who are, you're working from home, so there's really no excuse. You could just roll up to the computer any time of the day. You ain't going nowhere. You don't have to sit in the traffic. You don't have to go to the office. You just log on, and then bam, there it is. So it encourages this always on type of culture. And I trust me, I feel that. Like my wife will tell you, like it is hard for me not to, especially having been here. This is kind of where I live, where I spend a lot of my day is in this chair, working, doing stuff, creating stuff. And it's not all bad, but I'm saying that it reaches a point to where it's too much. And I don't have those natural boundaries of, okay, well, I got to go to my office to do this, or it's the weekend. So, I mean, I said something the other day that surprised me. I was like, she was like, "Oh, it's New Year's this week. What do you want to do for New Year's?" My wife. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm tired of the holidays. When are they gonna be over?" I said, "I'm tired of the holidays, right?" And that just speaks to my perspective, right? Because every day it's not a holiday for me, but it's not like I have to go to work or like go to an office. Like I don't have to check in or report in or anything like that. So it feels like it's kind of this just hamster wheel of daily. You get up, you grind, you know, you do all these other, normal stuff, and then day's over. Um, it's felt like that. So it's easy to feel like that. So bottom line is rest yourself. Rest. I mean, I've seen it so much on online, social media these last few days. Like somebody will say, "I'm on vacation," but then they still in the Discord, they still like moderating. Um, People say, "Oh, I'm on vacation. Make sure you rest," and then they're still posting on Twitter like 5 or 6 times a day. That's not resting. What you talking about? That's not resting. I mean, maybe your friends are on there and maybe okay, maybe it is resting, but I'd argue a lot of these people, they're kind of in a different role to where they're working if they're on social media. They're trying to find stuff to post. And yeah, no, I'm preaching right now. I'm going a little bit longer because people need to hear this. There's too many of us out there right now, um, living this type of life to where we feel like there's no other way to get it done, to survive, to live. But I thought about it this way. Here's what I want to do this year. I want to normalize. People say normalize everything. Everything's normalized nowadays. Here's what I want to normalize. I want to normalize being a man, being a person, whoever you are, in the 21st century. What does that mean? That means you have access to the internet. That means most likely that means you are living in the one of the most abundant times in human history, to where you could literally, when we were in California, we could get we could order something at Amazon in the morning and get it by the night. That's the type of times you're living in, right? Speed of light communication. You living in those times. Act like it. Act like it. Spend a day just being like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk to my friend over in the US because I live in Japan, wherever you live or whatever. I'm not saying don't ever work. Obviously, you still got to work and all this stuff. But I'm just saying, like, how many times have you done that? How many times have you been like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy these things that we have, like these things that are just normal for us: internet connection, live stream, YouTube, being able to play games online or um, watch movies together online. Like, especially after COVID, all that stuff is just so easy. It's just built in, baked in. How many times have you done that? I can tell you, I haven't done it very often. Yeah. Yeah, Dennis, preach, man. I know I feel that way too. I feel guilty, like, I mean, and I'm in a very privileged position to where, and I realize that, like, to where I don't have to work. Like, we're fine in our circumstances, but um, I still feel that way, even though I don't have to. I still do it, and my wife tells me all the time, at least every other day, you need to rest. You need to rest. And I know I should, but there always, like Dennis said in the chat, there always feels like there's something else that needs to be done. And there is. It's infinite amount of stuff that, and that's not even just making new stuff. You could go back and optimize. Like, that's one of the reasons why I hate working on my website, because you could optimize forever. You could be sitting there playing with this button and putting, well, what about this, and add this in and that. I mean, that was a lesson I learned a couple of years ago, actually. Like, okay, for me, I got to get in and get out of that type of situation, because you could just optimize forever. You could just keep going, you know. And in this day and age, when there's an app for everything, there's a website for pretty much everything, anything you could want or think of, and even stuff that you couldn't think of. There's probably a website or an app for that, to draw you in, or to like get you. So you just have to be really careful. And I think about it this way, just like we go on diets, right? Like food diets. And this is another analogy I put in Serious and Limbic. Well, I haven't. I don't. I think I have. I thought about it for Serious and Limbic too. What about a data diet? What's your data diet looking like? How much social media? Like, I catch myself all the time, like all these micro moments, right, where you're checking your phone, your email, especially if you have your notifications on. Oh, I pray for you, right? Because they telling you when, ding ding, served up, another dopamine hit. Ooh, time to check. And you don't think of it that way, right? But still, you're like, what if it's my friend? What if it's something from work? What if it's an emergency? What if it's my kids? It could be anything, right? So that you're saying this every time you check your phone for Facebook, or even if it's just, okay, you're just gonna knock off for 5 minutes on Facebook or on Twitter or on social media or on TikTok, whatever. Um, that stuff adds up over time, and it's diminishing slowly, slowly. You're slicing away, and then you're reading this stuff. Oh, maybe you get triggered. Oh, you start thinking about something that you didn't really care about before, and it's somebody you don't really care about. This is social media. This is the world we live in. And I'm saying all this stuff because I'm living this stuff, y'all. I'm not saying, oh, I don't do that. That ain't me. It is me. It was me this morning. It was me this morning, man. Like, you can't escape this stuff. Like, this is this is 2021 going to 2022. This is the life. This is how people live. It used to be people broke their backs farming all their life. Now we break our necks looking at our phones. Man, that's that's the life. So in order to like be more productive and to do more of the stuff that you want to actually do for the people that you care about, not some strangers on Discord or whoever on who gives a what on Twitter or whatever, but the people that you're actually going to serve, to have more time for them, you got to get think about this stuff, because it slowly saps your time away. And then, you have less time to do the stuff that's really important. Okay, so I'm gonna get off the soapbox, y'all. I got on this real kind of hard. It's already, man, I'm almost 15 minutes over. I don't like going over. But if you enjoyed what I talked about, or you're interested in my projects, you're gonna see a lot less of these like big ones. I'm gonna save these for maybe like once or twice a year, to where I talk about all my stuff. In the future, more of these live streams will just be focused on one thing. Um, they'll be just be focused on like one of my silos, right? Because, like I said, lessons learned. That's better for people to get their heads around, right? So, um, yeah, these are going to be reserved for like special times or whatever. The end of the year is a perfect time to do it, because it's kind of a wrap up. But if you like anything that I talk about, anything that I'm about, my book, first of all, keithhayden.net. That is the place. I do regularly update my website, and I need to go update my bio on there. That reminds me. See, another thing to do. Look at this. But if you enjoyed any of this stuff, go on there. You can subscribe to my newsletter, and it's at the bottom of my homepage. It's there. All my music's there, all my podcasts and stuff. I even added a page for my web development stuff, and eventually, I hope to make my own portfolio type thing once I get better. But right now, I just have to settle for the little page. Twitter, that's a good place to find me, at KH_author for writing and podcasting. And general stuff, I post, books that I finish, or books that I'm reading, movies that good movies, not bad movies. Tend not to tweet about those, but movies, video games. That's my general Twitter account. My language stuff, Japanese, the class, all that stuff at KH underscore way too lang. You can find me there. Web dev stuff at KH underscore web dev. Pretty easy. Um, yeah, I'm there. And then LinkedIn is my other big one. LinkedIn, I'm still trying to find a way to like fit it more into my like strategy. So I haven't really gotten it down yet, but I do post on there and I will post more as people start going back to work after the holidays. And then Verbal is there as well. Verbal, I'm going to be blasting that out too because I just love how it's so quick and I could like I said, get behind the mic really fast, say something, be done, move on. So look for more smaller updates on Verbal. So, are there any questions? Man, been talking for the last hour and 15 minutes. I need to drink some water. Okay, I'm just looking at the timer. I'm using the timer as like my invisible question. They always taught us when I was in teacher training to um, embrace the silence. Because you'd be like, yeah, as a teacher, are there any questions? Okay, leave. Like has no students don't have time to ask questions or even think if they have a question, right? They don't have time to think about it. So that's a teacher move. But anyway, to the three of you that stayed with me the entire time, it's probably just JC, Dennis. I don't know who the third person is, but uh, thank you for doing that. Share this video because, especially with the message at the end, because I feel like so many people need to hear that. I appreciate that, Dennis. So many people need to hear, like, especially with the pandemic and everything. Like, it just feels like it is never ending. I think so. I saw a tweet the other day. Somebody said tested positive for over this stuff. I mean, it's just like every day, and I know there are people who are affected like deeply. Like I know I was sick last year. My wife was sick this year. She got sick pretty bad with it this year. I got a mild case because I got it early. But yeah, it's out there, y'all, and it sucks that yeah, some people aren't making it through. It's difficult. It's a difficult time, but I mean, those of us who it's pretty much ops normal. We have to continue to, do what we do, and I just want more people to do the things that are important to them. Instead of just reading and worrying. Spend more time creating. Spend more time being about it, serving your people instead of just worrying. Because there's a lot to worry about. You could spend all day worrying. Or you could spend your whole life worrying, and uh, that's no way to live. So I will cut it off here. I don't know why I just hit the microphone. I'm sorry. I will cut it off here. Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it, JC. Yeah. No. I just how I do. Like this stuff is from the heart, pretty unscripted. But yeah, I'm just saying I feel like a lot of people are thinking what I'm saying. But and they've probably said it in different ways, maybe just personally, maybe they've even said it online. But yeah, I'm just putting it out there that I'm publicly like trying to like do better about regulating my time working so I can rest and I can be more effective actually because you are more effective when you take breaks and you can actually focus and you're not just under the gun, especially when you're trying to learn something because it's hard to learn when you're under pressure. Like it's just when you're constantly putting the pressure on yourself, super hard to learn that way. Okay, y'all. Thanks so much. I'm going to put the link for my website one more time so people who watch this after the fact can just click there if they want to go. Um, and yeah, you guys have a happy new year. Good luck in 2022. I wish you the best, everyone who's watching this. And I hope that you are able to meet your goals and to do more of you in 2022. I'll see you later.